Let's talk about how scary things can really get. I got the story from The Hill. Washington Post issues correction on 2020 report on Tom Cotton lab leak theory. Now, that headline from The Hill is irresponsible, in my opinion, because they did not issue a correction. They issued what's called a stealth edit, which I'm sure many may be familiar with. But let me show you this tweet from Greg Price. Greg is, he doesn't have a bio, but he's verified on Twitter. That means everything.
Yeah, Greg's a Daily Caller.
Daily Caller, there you go.
Yeah, he's great. He's a good guy.
He tweets, democracy dies in stealth edits on 15-month-old headlines. And the first image, the Washington Post says, Tom Cotton keeps repeating a coronavirus conspiracy theory that was already debunked. And now it reads, Tom Cotton keeps repeating a coronavirus fringe theory that scientists have disputed. Oh. So what happens is, right now it's happening across the board on tons.
He's been upgraded from debunked to fringe.
That's right.
That
or
is a
no, from
promotion.
Conspiracy to fringe and debunked to disputed by scientists.
Right.
It's not the only outlet doing this.
Congratulations, Senator Cotton.
These news outlets are literally rewriting history.
They are.
Think about what it used to be like in the past. 100 years ago.
Oh, this is Winston Smith.
What is?
So this is the plot of 1984.
Oh, there you go.
That's his job, right?
Right.
In the beginning, he's the guy who edits old newspapers.
So, but in reality, 100 years ago, a newspaper would come out and it would say, Jack Posobiec does backflip. And you'd be like, there it is. It's reported. And there's a photograph of Jack doing this amazing backflip.
You should see my backflip. It's fantastic.
The best.
Nowadays, there'll be an article on, Washington Post website, and it'll show the backflip. And then a month later, without anyone noticing, the article will be different. And it'll say, Jack Posobiec falls doing backflip. And the photo is still there, but it looks a little different, or it's a different photo, or it's gone altogether. See, back in the day, a hard copy wouldn't be changed.
Right.
They would have to issue a correction later on if they made a mistake in the next paper. Today, they don't even issue corrections. They just change the articles. Now, here's where it gets crazy. Wikipedia, supposed to be this great encyclopedia of the modern era, right? How many articles on Wikipedia use that Washington Post story that says debunked conspiracy? The story's different now. Do we go and delete all those encyclopedia entries that are now incorrect? This is a huge problem with how we are collecting and disseminating information in today's era. News organizations can just change what they said a year and a half later, and then our encyclopedias don't make sense anymore. Because so if someone were now to write an article related to COVID, they could use this article, the same link, to make a different point. They could say, it was a fringe theory. Scientists dispute it, while as another article says it's a debunked conspiracy theory. So these inconsistencies will start popping up the more and more they do this.
And to piggyback on what you're saying, let's say you've been living under a rock, right, for the longest time. You're just someone who's like total normie, not interested in any, for whatever reason, you're not interested in COVID-19. But you want to learn about it now. You say, what's this lab leak theory people are talking about? I want to dig into it a little more. And they say, oh, Cotton brought it up and it was disputed back then. But that's not true, right? So if the Washington Post wanted to tell the truth, they could have said, yes, it was considered a conspiracy theory when it was first talked about. However, over time, it gained traction. And here's why it gained traction. And here's the actual story of it. But this is the problem, because they don't set themselves up as, think about it. You don't have to have a position on anything anymore, right? Because your position is, we are the truth. And so if we are truth, then whatever truth is can become a moving target.
Instead of it being what the truth is, we will report. What they're saying now is what we report is the truth.
Is the truth,
Yep.
Right, exactly.
So it doesn't matter what really happened. It just matters what they decide to put on paper.
And that's a problem. That's a huge problem.
It has been that way to an extent for a long time, but now stealth editing has become so widespread. And when it comes to very serious historical moments like this is actually really scary. You know why? If we're not collecting information in any other capacity, I suppose we have archives. We have, archive.is, we have the Wayback Machine. What happens in 50 years, in 100 years? And they're like, what happened with COVID? And they look back at all the articles and it says, lab leak was confirmed very early on. Tom Cotton. So right now it says Tom Cotton pushes fringe theory. Great. In a year, it'll say Tom Cotton pushes proven theory. They're going to go back and rewrite history. We knew the whole time Tom was right. So what happens in 100 years? History will be dramatically different. We witness it. We witness the media lying. But future generations are going to look back at the archives and they're going to be like, they were always right. See, Washington Post wrote, Tom Cotton is correct about lab leak theory. That's what the headline says now. And they rewrite the story. Why change it? Why not just put Like, The Guardian does this. A thing up here says this article is 3 years old.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah. I actually like that.
Yeah,
Even though I don't
good.
like The Guardian.
Right. I agree.
But I actually like that they put that up, because even if it's one of the things where, someone will do this on Twitter to get retweets sometimes, where they'll post like an old article, but they'll make it seem as if it's breaking.
I hate
And
that.
it's something, yeah, you know what I'm talking about? And then it starts getting shared a lot. Well, and I don't know if Guardian was thinking about this, and the sort of the social media interplay where people only read headlines anymore, because that's what's happening more and more, is that when you do click it the first time, that it'll show, hey, just so you know, big blinking letters, this thing is several years old, this information could be out of date. And by the way, that's okay.
Yeah.
Because things change in life, right? Stories have a beginning, middle, and end. Sometimes they keep going. Sometimes you get the MCU and there is no story.
All right.
We got jokes, folks. We got jokes. And or you get The Simpsons, where it just kind of like trails off into like the oblivion. But it allows you to sort of understand this. And this is a plot in actually a lot of movies, where you're going through the microfiche and you're understanding, oh, so this happened here, and then this happened, and then you're able to weave the narrative together. Well, if you don't have that, then how do you figure out anything?
What I really love about this media phenomenon is that there are a lot of organizations that will do an aggregation of, say, the AP or Reuters.
Right.
And so it'll just say like Yahoo News, and then it'll say New York Post. I find this all the time, because Yahoo News will pick up a lot of stories.
Yeah, Yahoo News is really weird like that, and that because they have some that are internal, but a lot that are from somewhere else.
Yeah.
And it'll just say New York Post. So what's funny is the New York Post will put out a story and then issue a correction, and Yahoo News will run the uncorrected, the false version, and they both simultaneously exist as certifiable, credible organizations for Wikipedia's editors and NewsGuard certified. So you can literally just pick which narrative works best for you, I suppose. What happens then?
Choose your own reality.
Well, as we know, people choose news, which confirms their bias.
Yep.
So the conservatives will find the corrected piece and go, oh, right there, and they'll post it on Facebook. And the Democrat, liberals, and the leftists will be like, oh, right there, the Yahoo version, they'll post it. And now you have two versions of the same story. I'll tell you what, though, man. It really does feel like there was an article written in American Greatness by, I'm forgetting the guy's name. But he writes that the Democrats have already seceded from the Union, talking about the crazy things they're doing. They don't believe in the history of this country. They don't believe in the rule of law. They've intervened in the Chauvin trial, demanding violence. Right. Clearly, they're not working on the same capacity as we are. And I look at that and I'm like,
by the way, did you see Chauvin? He said, I only want, if I want a new trial, number one, but number two, I should only get probation because the system is completely broken. Yep.
Well, so this is interesting. I remember the Sondland hearing, probably the most important example of what's happened to this country. I was, I can't remember where the image is from, but there's, I think it was at the gym, and there's two TVs side by side. There's Fox News and there's like ABC.
This is the first impeachment.
Yeah, this was Ukraine Gate.
Yeah, so that was the first impeachment.
Yeah. So
that we don't even talk about it anymore.
Sondland
actually was the
said,
second one. We don't.
Donald Trump told me no quid pro quo.
Right.
But I kind of felt like there was one. So Fox News, the Chiron says, Sondland, quote, Trump said no quid pro quo.
Right.
On the TV to the left of it, Sondland confirms quid pro quo. How can we function as a country when people are like, Fox News is lying, it's fake news? I'm like, but they quoted the guy. They quoted Sondland, what he was saying. And then they're like, but ABC News, they get to the truth. And then conservatives look at it and they're like, that's a quote. If you can take one sentence and turn it into two completely opposite news stories, and it results in people at each other's throats, mass conflict in the streets, riots, I don't see how we come back from that.
Well, and the problem is, and it's something that, you've talked about a ton, but I think we've all experienced it, where so many of these outlets have gotten away from, hey, and we're not going to be arbiters of truth. We're going to be arbiters of narrative because we're chasing an audience. Yeah, they're chasing clicks.
Have you seen the Project Veritas deposition of Lauren Windsor?
No, I haven't seen that.
So I don't know the full context. It's just one of the clips I saw from James O'Keefe. They put out talking about, suing the New York Times and all that.
Right.
And they asked this woman, and I may be getting this wrong, so just double check and go watch the video. But they said something
James will
like,
sue us all if we get it wrong.
No, they might. But the lawyer is asks this woman, why didn't you include this video in what you were producing? And she just like shrugs and goes, because it wasn't necessary for the narrative we were trying to produce.
There it
And
is.
I hear that and I'm like, the narrative you are trying to produce. That's crazy. Thanks for checking out this clip from the Timcast IRL podcast. If you want to see the full show, come back to this channel, youtube.com/TimcastIRL, Monday through Friday at 8 p.m., where you can leave comments and super chat, and we actually will read your comments on the show. Don't forget to like, share, subscribe, and if you want exclusive members-only content, segments you can't get anywhere else, go to timcast.com, become a member, and we even have full bonus episodes. Thanks for hanging out, and we'll see you all next time.